We thank you for her care and attention to our affairs, even when she has been going through times of personal loss and sadness. We thank you for her keen interest in us all personally and for her great sense of fellowship. We commend Marion to you as she embarks on a new aspect of her life journey in the service of others, and may she know the joy of your constant presence. Amen.
Amen. I just want to acknowledge the people who have come as guests today. There's quite a number of you. If I missed someone out, my apologies. But Bruce Christianson has joined us at the top table because he's going to be acknowledging, speaking about Marion shortly. Colin MacLeod, our oldest member. He looks the youngest, but he's there. Melva and Pat Waite on our top table here. And, of course, our District Governor, Bob and Margaret Smith. On the table just behind, I also want to acknowledge Marion's family. And we've got Corin, David and Denise all here. If you could three stand just for a second, just to embarrass you. Thank you. And with them on their table, we've got Graham Blick, Martin Garcia, Joe Humphrey, and I get all my little bits together. Chris Robertson's also there, and Howard Tong. I now invite Robert Fisher. Robert Fisher is going to be our sergeant this session, and he's been working on this for weeks.
Thank you, James. Slight exaggeration. He only told me a couple of days ago. Anyway, it does give me a lot of pleasure, Marion, to do this very onerous task. And a privilege, though, rather. And speaking of sergeants, when I was called upon to be sergeant last, which is quite a number of years ago, it was for a whole year, and boy, did it wear me out. But however, things have changed and things have looked up. So instead of being a nightmare, all you sergeants in the current period who only have to do it once a year can pay up for a start. Back to Marion. First of all, stand up all past presidents, please. I know there's a few of you around. Now, this is a double fine. Look at all these outstanding fellows. This is a double fine because, particularly in my case, none of you would have been half as competent without her input. So that's double. That's worth double. Speaking of secretaries, when I first joined, it was somewhat formal. The secretary was a Miss Lowe, and I don't think anyone knew her first name. Is that right, John, Todd? Miss Lowe? No, neither could I. The next was Mrs. Briggins, and we knew her name was Joyce, but she was always called Mrs. Briggins, not Joyce. And now I want to find anyone who is called Marion Mrs. Patchett. Is there anybody? No. Well, you see, that's very much a plus, Marion. Marion was also renowned, this is factual, for her escorting of Rotary students in a van around New Zealand. In fact, many thought she was a professional driver or tour leader. So all those who have driven a van, fork up too, please. In my year as president, we had the 75th anniversary, and I wouldn't have done it without Marion's input and particularly Bruce's help. So I was going to find all those at Bruce Christianson's table, and I don't think it does any harm for the official table to fork up as well. I'm going to round it off, not with a Rotary matter, but I played a rare game of golf the other day, and I know a lot of you are golfers, so this came out of that particular game of golf. A young man and a priest are playing together. At a short par 3, and I'm sure you know what that means, the priest asks, "What are you going to use on this hole, my son?" The young man says, "An 8-iron, Father. How about you?" The priest says, "I'm going to hit a soft 7 and pray." The young man hits his 8-iron and puts the ball on the green. The priest tops his 7-iron and dribbles the ball out a few metres. The young man says, "I don't know about you, Father, but in my church, when we pray, we keep our head down." Thank you.
Marion's nearly 23 years, in June this year would have been 23 years, of the club is important to us. And to that, I invite Bruce Christianson to come forward.
President James, guests and fellow Rotarians. As a club member, I feel privileged to have been asked to speak on this special occasion. And in doing so, I sense that at least some of you may be thinking, because it is a privilege, please don't make a hash of what you're about to say. Clearly, it's impossible to do justice to Marion's almost 23 years of wide-ranging service in a few minutes. Instead, to give an instance of her commitment to the best interests of the Rotary Club of Wellington as a whole, I shall briefly touch on an episode in which I was directly involved, but about which most members will know little or nothing. It concerns a stewardship agreement between our Rotary Club and the John Eilert Charitable Trust, under which our club has promised to govern and administer the affairs of the trust to a high standard and on a continuing basis. Two members of Wellington's Eilert family contributed much to our Rotary Club, the Rotary District of which it is part, and to Rotary in general. 90 years ago, Sir John Eilert was a charter member of this, New Zealand's first Rotary Club, and later became its president, a district governor, and a second vice president of Rotary International. As some members will recall, Sir John's only son Jack immediately preceded current member Sir John Todd as president of this club. But in his other life, Jack Eilert was the force in energising and developing a trust, the work of which Jack envisaged would always associate his family's name with philanthropy. Accordingly, Jack engineered today's stewardship agreement between the Eilert Trust and our Rotary Club in 1992. But in 1999 he was terminally ill, and he feared that constantly changing Rotary Club officer trustees would seriously expose the Trust's governance to discontinuity. Under the stewardship agreement, our club secretary was to become Trust secretary, and with others, Marion visited Jack. It wasn't in her job description, but she wanted to help. During the visit, Jack repeated his concerns, but Marion assured him of her commitment to be the Trust secretary and that she would not let him down. I was present when she gave this undertaking, and she kept her promise. When Jack died and the stewardship agreement became operational, a very prescriptive Eilert Trust governance manual became necessary. Marion didn't ask whether it was in a job description. She cheerfully typed up the whole of the first version. She also prepared first versions of trust forms still in use today by Trust Advisory Committee members and trustees. But the personal attribute that has characterised Marion's major contribution to the welfare of this Rotary Club and its members has not been to do with documentation or administrative procedure. Rather, it has stemmed consistently from her singular generosity of spirit. Dawning enlightenment opened Rotary membership to women and the added value that followed. Pre-Marion, as has been suggested, club practices were much more formal, consistent with social norms of the time. Members were invariably addressed by the club secretary as Mr., and luncheon meetings concluded with the singing of the national anthem. More recent members may marvel at the time warp which that picture of our Rotary Club may conjure up. Certainly the atmosphere pervading today's luncheon meetings is much more informal, as I'm sure we've noticed. In the context of club administration, internet access and enablement to and through a comprehensive website has made the club more virtual but more readily approachable. However, a human dimension for many of us during the technology-driven transition has been Marion, and support for our club and its members has been characterised by her wholehearted generosity of spirit. Of the fine qualities she has demonstrated in nearly 23 years, her generosity of spirit has been the standout for me. So, as a club member, may I say three things to Marion. First, our hearty congratulations and warmest wishes for future good health and happiness on your attainment of a well-earned retirement. Second, we salute the unfailing generosity of spirit which has constantly fuelled your personal support for the Rotary Club of Wellington and its members for so long. Third, thank you from so many of us who've experienced help or an act of thoughtfulness from you so unstintingly given during your time with the Rotary Club of Wellington. Fellow members, I ask that you rise now and join with me in honouring our club's retiring secretary, Marion Patchett.
Marion's involvement was always a lot greater than just our club. And therefore it's very appropriate that past District Governor Pat Waite give a tribute to Marion from Rotary outside the club, including her involvement with the Rotary Club of Tawa, the district and Inner Wheel. Pat, I invite you forward.
President James, the Patchett family and guests and fellow Rotarians. When President James phoned me and said, could I do this tribute, I was quite taken back. Why choose me? But I actually had an amazing memory of what Marion and Glyn have contributed, and I'd like to actually record that, if I may. It's significant. And as I talked a bit more to Marion and the wider family to find out some background for today, it struck me that most of us don't actually know what Marion and Glyn have done in their lives. So I'd like to actually take some time to record those events. So Marion's introduction to Rotary was through her late husband Glyn, who was a member of Tawa Club from 1974 for 34 years and as president in 83-84. It was Glyn's presidential year that the very successful Tawa Village Street Days were introduced, with a theme of Spirit of Tawa. Glyn was very active in district affairs and over the years held a number of district roles, including District Student Exchange, the chair of that committee, District Foundation and the chair of that committee, and had led a very successful GSE team to upstate New York in 1993. Glyn was a 24-hour vet practice, ran a vet practice. So you can imagine the Patchett's household was a very busy one, although from time to time they were able to enjoy Glyn's love of car racing as active participants. Marion tells a story when she won the ladies' saloon car race. This is your secretary. And won enough money to pay for the broken window that she got in the practice round. So we could have let her loose and earn some money for Rotary. Over the years, Marion and Glyn have hosted over 30 exchange students, which provided an amazing network of people who call Marion and Glyn their Kiwi mum and dad. So with so many students, it's natural that a number have become very close. One of the first students they hosted was Lisa. Lisa 1, because there was more than one Lisa, from Calgary, when Marion was in her 30s. And over the years, Marion and Lisa have grown a very close bond to the stage where they see each other as sisters. Marion and Glyn visited Lisa in Calgary several times, and Lisa and her family have been regular visits to the Patchett home. What an amazing program, Student Exchange. I heard a Rotary president in his closing of a workshop in one of the international conventions that Melvin and I attended say, one of these wonderful people that you've guided will one day be in the right place at the right time in a position, whether as parent, teacher or politician, to influence good changes in the world. There is no doubt that Marion and Glyn's influence and character has helped shape some wonderful people in this world. One of the legacies, of course, of being involved with an international family like Marion and Glyn is that David, Denise and Corinne have been exposed to a number of languages and different cultures. Have been so closely involved with Rotary, both as Secretary of Wellington Club for 23 years and in supporting Glyn in his Rotary career, it was natural that Marion was invited by the District Governor to help charter a new breakfast club in Pairua. In 1995, the Rotary Club of Kapimana was chartered with Marion as its charter president. Marion was a fully active member of Kapimana Breakfast Club until 2004 when dwindling numbers forced the club to close. And Marion took the opportunity to join Glyn's club at Tawa. It was on the last meeting of the Kapimana Club that Marion was presented with a Paul Harris Fellowship. Like Glyn, Marion contributed significantly and still is in district affairs. It was in past District Governor Duncan McKee's year who in 1997 encouraged Marion to join the District Membership Committee, which she did for 5 years. In fact, she chaired the committee for the last 2 years, followed by an active involvement in the District Matched New Zealand Australia Student Exchange Committee, which she was appointed to in 2000, with a spell as its chair for 2 years, and Marion is still involved, actively involved in that committee. Whilst you might think that this is all there is, it was through her inner wheel life that she became more currently recognised. Marion was, in 1982, a charter member and charter secretary of the Inner Wheel Club of Tawa. She became its president in 1984-85, district secretary in 1988-90, district chair in 92-93, district extension chair in 94-97, Inner Wheel New Zealand president, vice president for 2 years, and then with the encouragement of her friends and family in 2006-2008, Inner Wheel New Zealand president. And last year, Marion held the position of an international Inner Wheel board director. Marion tributes Colleen Payne from Christchurch, who was a wife of the 9970 District International Student Exchange Chair. In the period that Glyn was our District International Student Exchange Chair, has been responsible for her taking on the role of New Zealand President. Colleen and her husband, who became very close friends of Marion and Glyn, and it was their encouragement that prompted Marion to say, "Yes, I will do it. I will allow my name go forward for the election of the position of New Zealand President." The rest is history, as they say. But Marion's influence was felt also outside Rotary and Inner Wheel, and that was with Tawa Girl Guides, which Marion was actively involved in, starting as a young girl in Paraparam as a brownie and then as a girl guide. This love of guiding led Marion as a teenager to take on the role as a brownies leader, because they could not get one, and progressing to become district commissioner and then division commissioner, and being involved for over 30 years. One of her fondest memories is the girl guide camps that she and Glyn helped with. Both took turns cooking for the hundreds of girls, and then later in her life she attended numerous camps as a commissioner. Her Inner Wheel friends watched with pride when Marion was honoured with the highest award from the International President of Inner Wheel, Carol Buchanan, who at the Inner Wheel New Zealand Convention held in the Duxton Hotel in Wellington in 2002, presented Marion with the Marguerite Golding Award to recognise Marion's contribution both to the Girl Guide movement and Rotary Student Exchange Program. Marguerite Golding was the founder of Inner Wheel, and Marion was the first New Zealander to ever receive that prestigious award. I finish with great pride to say that Marion is a highly respected member of the Rotary Club of Tawa, my club, and a very good friend of Melva and I. I wish you well.
Thank you, President James, and good afternoon, everyone, distinguished guests and members of the Rotary Club of Wellington. It's a great privilege to be here today, Marion. I have not known Marion for a very long time, but I have known the name of Marion Patchett for a very long time. And I can remember as I was driving down from Whanganui today, I was thinking about it, and I thought, I was first corresponding with you when I first joined Rotary, and that was in 1992. And you know, it wasn't by email, it was probably by fax, and I think it was probably to do with youth exchange. But you are obviously involved very, very deeply and very actively in Rotary and in district affairs, and you have been over the years. I was asked to say a few words, and I think I've said those few words. There's obviously a lot of love and respect in this room for you. I know that when I came to Wellington last year, we met. I went to Tawa, and there was Marion. I went to Plimerton, and there was Marion. And she always had this lovely smile, this beautiful smile. And I'll always remember you for this beautiful smile, Marion. So it gives me great pleasure now to recognise, and as we do in New Zealand and as we do in Australia, A Paul Harris Fellowship is presented to somebody who has lived the ideals of Rotary and who has shown exemplary service to Rotary. And that is my duty today, and my very pleasant duty on behalf of the Rotary Club of Wellington for your services to Wellington Rotary Club, and on behalf of the district and on behalf of Rotary International. It gives me really great pleasure to present you with a sapphire pin to your Paul Harris Fellowship.
Thank you just so very, very much. That's really taken my breath away, like it does with lots of things. It's just an honour to be here today with you all, and I wish to thank all members very, very sincerely for your friendship and wonderful support during my nearly 23 years with the Rotary Club of Wellington. As has already been said, I started with the Rotary Club of Wellington, I thought it was July, 89, and during this time have served under 22 presidents, a new boss every year, each year. I've really enjoyed all the challenges and satisfaction I have had for each different year. Of course, each year took a while to understand the way the president wished the year to go, but we achieved and enjoyed the year. The various functions and many fellowship functions have been a real pleasure to be a part of. One amusing incident, I hope I can. We had a lunch in the Renoff foyer, was when the late Christopher Doig, who was with the New Zealand Symphony Orchestra, came to speak. He then wished to have a partner to carry through what he was explaining in his speech. And being the only female he could see, he came and grabbed me and danced me around the room, much to the concern of many Rotarians present. So as you can see, this job has a huge variety, including with some of the New Zealand's notable people. During my time with the club, I have welcomed and achieved many challenges, and I have thoroughly enjoyed my time with you all. I wish the Rotary Club of Wellington all the best for the future, and it would be wonderful to be able to share with you all at your celebration in June 2021. 100 years, yoo-hoo. Thank you all so very much. It's been a privilege to receive a Paul Harris Fellow, but I have many memories to treasure for a very, very long time. Thank you all.
I think we all learnt a few things today, especially about your district involvement, because we're so centrified within our own club sometimes. And what you said, Pat, was truly an eye-opener and a recognition of just how enormous your contribution has been.